Hi there, and welcome to RentPrep for Landlords. I'm Andrew Schultz, Community Manager here at RentPrep. I'm also a licensed real estate broker with over 15 years of experience in the property management and rental property industries. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about 5 rental property upgrades to help your rental property stand out from the rest, as well as maximize its income potential. A lot of these are DIY friendly and don't break the bank, so stick around and let's get to it. In this video, we're looking specifically at upgrades to help you bump the rent price up on your rental property. Many of these are also going to have an impact on the overall value of your property, the resale value or the property value as a whole, but that's not really the full intent of what we're after in this video. We're looking for a few things that give your apartment a wow factor, something that's going to get a potential tenant excited to apply for your apartment versus a different unit, something that's going to set your apartment apart from the competition that's out there in the market. Smart improvements to your property will definitely lead to a higher rent and will definitely have an impact on your bottom line, but you also need to be cautious not to over-improve your property to the point where it won't command the rent dollar that you're looking for in order to make that property profitable or even just break even. None of us are in this business to lose money, so you definitely need to make sure that you're keeping the cost of your upgrades and the associate costs in line with your market. Let's talk about our first upgrade, and we're going to start things off with fixtures. In this instance, we're talking about both electrical and plumbing fixtures, and the main goal when we're talking about these is to make sure that everything has a matching finish that's intact, is clean, and is free of rust. Anytime you see chipping or peeling on the finish of a fixture, it's time to either repair or replace that fixture, because that's something that's only going to get progressively worse over time. Try to avoid having different finishes to different fixtures in the same room, and ultimately, if you could match your fixtures from one end of the property to the other, that goes a long way to show a consistent, clean, crisp look. Walking into a bedroom that has a brass doorknob and a brushed nickel ceiling fan and an oil-rubbed bronze vent cover is going to make the space look very, very awkward. Walking into a bathroom that has a consistent finished look from the faucet on the vanity, to the shower head and knobs, to the light fixtures, to the toilet paper and towel holders, obviously that space is going to show a lot better than something that looks like it's just a mishmash of whatever happened to be on sale when you went to the hardware store. When you're shopping for fixture components, oftentimes manufacturers will have a set that matches across multiple areas of the home. So for instance, when we redid our bathroom recently, we were able to pick a faucet that matched the shower, including the drain, which matched the toilet paper holder, which matched the towel holders, like I had mentioned previously. And while we haven't gotten to the point where we've gotten the kitchen upgrades done yet, we do know that when we get to that point, there's a matching kitchen faucet that we can use in that same set, which is going to make it look very consistent around the house. And it also makes it very, very easy for you to shop and compare quickly. I understand that it's not always possible to go through and upgrade everything so that it has the same finish, but if you can keep your finishes consistent inside each room, that'll go a long way in ensuring that your property looks proper as someone is walking through it, that it doesn't look like a mishmash. Since we're talking about electrical fixtures, this seems like a good time to talk about lighting a little bit more in depth. Having consistent, bright lighting throughout your rental goes a long way in making it look more appealing. Walking into a dimly lit room or a room that has no lighting at all can make it very difficult for a potential tenant to really visualize the space. If a tenant really likes a rental property, a lot of times they start thinking about where would we place various things in the home? Where would you place the bed? Where do you put the couch? Where do you put the coffee table? Having a bright room makes it much easier for a tenant to start looking at a space and thinking about where their stuff is going to go. It creates a little bit of buy-in with that potential tenant before they even get to the stage where they're looking to apply. Talking about interior lighting, not only can the amount of light, but the color temperature of the light can have a massive impact on how a space is perceived. Without getting into the nitty-gritty on color temperature, essentially what you're going to want to know is that a lower Kelvin range of 2000 to 3000 is considered a warmer light with more reds and yellows in it, versus a light in the 3500 to 5000 Kelvin range, which is considered a cooler light with more blues and more whites in it. Typically, you're going to want your warmer colored lights in the bedrooms, perhaps in the living room as well. And when you move into the kitchens and bathrooms, I recommend a cooler light. Bathrooms often benefit from having a mid-temperature light, and kitchens typically do really, really well with either a cool or a bright white light. Essentially, you're looking to match the color to the mood of the space, if that makes sense. If a room doesn't have a light, I strongly recommend adding in a lamp or two to the room, especially for showings, because like I had mentioned earlier, that's going to make it much easier for someone to visualize the space and where they would want to put things. Even if you want to set aside everything that we just talked about when it comes to lighting, the best tip that I can give you is to ensure that the lighting in every room is the same. If you have a multi-bulb fixture, every single socket should be filled with the same color temperature bulb so that the room is consistently lit with the same type of light. You don't want to mix warm and cool light in the same fixture, and you definitely don't want to leave any spaces empty in the light fixture because you want to show that the property is being well maintained and well cared for. Since we're talking about lighting, it's probably worth mentioning that this is a good time to consider replacing any sort of a light fixture or a light bulb that is hard to access. And what I mean by that is essentially anything that's high off the ground, anything that you need a ladder to access, something along those lines. We're looking for the lights that it's difficult for a tenant to get to them. It's difficult for the tenant to change the light bulb. We might wind up with a work order as a result of it. And these are situations where we're looking to swap out that light fixture with something LED, something that is nice and bright, and something that we probably won't have to touch or maintain for a long time because LEDs last so much longer. Some LED fixtures are now coming with the ability for you to change the temperature of the light right on the fixture itself so that you don't necessarily have to go bulb shopping or don't necessarily need to know exactly what temperature of light you want. You can actually choose that on the light fixture itself when you go to install it. That's going to make it a lot easier for you to match your fixture to your lighting needs. LED lighting also comes with the added benefit of reducing the utility costs for either you or the tenant, depending on who's paying the utility bills. Swapping out incandescent bulbs or fluorescent bulbs for LEDs comes with a substantial savings on a month-over-month basis, and especially when you look at it over the course of time. So this is definitely an upgrade that's worth doing. Moving to the outside of your home, don't forget about outdoor and security lighting around the perimeter of the home as well. Every entrance should be well lit, and if you have walking paths or areas around the property that people are typically accessing in the evening, it's a good idea to make sure that those areas are well lit as well. And exterior lighting does not need to be prohibitively expensive or even require an electrician anymore. There are a lot of LED lighting options out there now that have a solar panel and a battery bank built into them for overnight lighting that can easily be attached to an outside wall without the need to run a special circuit to it or anything along those lines. There's a lot of that stuff out there, and you can find it basically anywhere you want to look. Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, a lot of hardware stores will carry this stuff. But what you want to do is make sure that you're getting something that's of good quality because there are a lot of low quality, low end fixtures out there on the market. So just make sure that whatever fixture you're buying has a little bit of durability behind it and isn't just going to fall apart 6 months after you put it up on the wall. Let's move on to our third improvement, which is flooring. Over the course of time, we've largely moved away from carpets, and currently we're doing a lot of vinyl plank installs as well as tile installs in areas like kitchens and bathrooms. But as we mentioned earlier, this is going to be market and unit dependent. Your area may or favor carpet over a different type of flooring. And if you're in a situation where you're using carpet, you need to make sure that it's clean, free of stains, and free of odors. Carpet fibers trap a lot of smell, so be sure that you have the carpets professionally cleaned by someone with a truck-mounted steam cleaner. That's going to go a long, long way. Oftentimes, things like the rug doctor that you would rent from a hardware store or a carpet shampooer that you would find typically available at a residential level, a consumer level, oftentimes those leave a lot of residue in the carpet, which attracts dust and dirt, and 2 weeks after you clean the carpets, you wind up with a floor that looks dirtier than it did before you even attempted to clean it. That's why I recommend having somebody come in with a truck-mounted steam cleaner, something that has a little bit more extraction power and can really get all of the water and all of the soap suds out of your carpet. I like vinyl plank because of the overall durability factor. We've talked about vinyl plank a whole bunch of times here in various podcasts and videos, but that's really what it boils down to for me at least. Vinyl plank is readily available, it's easy to install, it looks clean when it's done, it's long-lasting, and it's durable. I would recommend avoiding any sort of a laminate flooring, as I've never seen a laminate flooring that can hold up to really any amount of moisture. And pretty much as soon as water gets under the surface of the wear layer, the layer that we all look at, As soon as it gets under that, it starts to puff up and delaminate, and eventually that flooring just starts to crumble apart. Once it gets wet, it basically turns to nothing. It's basically a compressed sawdust product. So skip the laminate flooring, even if it's a little bit cheaper, and go with the vinyl plank product instead. You're going to wind up with a much better finished product at the end of the job. Now let's go ahead and move into the kitchen area and talk a little bit about cabinetry. Replacing cabinetry can obviously be price prohibitive. The problem is you're never changing just the cabinets. You wind up having to change the countertops, the sinks, the faucets. Depending on the size of the new cabinetry, you might even have backsplash issues or flooring issues that you need to deal with. It gets very, very expensive very, very quickly. One thing I don't think a lot of people realize is that you can replace just the cabinet doors to give an existing set of cabinets a fresh new look. So if you have a set of cabinets that are in good shape, but the doors are beat up or they're of an older style or something along those lines, this may be a viable option for you. The nice thing is replacing a door is obviously a lot cheaper than replacing an entire cabinet, both in terms of labor cost and material cost. Swapping out a cabinet door doesn't take nearly as long as removing and replacing an entire cabinet system, and the price of materials isn't even comparable. Home Depot's website offers a lot of customization options on a variety of different cabinet styles, including unpainted, naturally finished, thermal foil, etc. There's obviously several different styles that you can choose from as well, and you can custom size to whatever the needs are for your particular set of cabinets. There are also a lot of local shops out there that can do this for you as well. For instance, we have a local cabinet maker that sells just doors and hardware right out of their showroom, so you can walk in, basically figure out what you need, buy it all right then and there, and more often than not, it's in stock and you can walk right out the door with it. They're also able to make a custom-sized cabinet door, which is awesome, and I'd much rather support a local business than Home Depot. Moving on to our next potential upgrade, let's talk about appliances. There's always a debate anytime this topic comes up as to whether or not a landlord should or should not include appliances in their rental property. And if you do decide to include the appliances, you then have to decide what appliances you're going to include. Ultimately, I found that the best way to determine if you should or should not include appliances and what finish you should be shopping for is by looking at other rentals in the same price range and in the same area as yours to see what they're doing, because that's what you should be doing. You should be targeting to be as good, if not a little bit better, than the other properties that are on the market in your area. So looking to see what they're doing will get you a long way when you try to decide what you should do. If your kitchen comes with no appliances, but the house on the next block comes with a brand new stainless steel stove and refrigerator, that other unit, like pretty much guaranteed, is going to have a leg up on your unit depending on what the tenant's needs are. What I found here in the Buffalo market may not be the same as what you encounter in your market, but it seems that under $1,000 a month, most tenants are not expecting the appliances to be included. Typically, they bring their own stove and refrigerator, which sometimes is a good thing and sometimes is a bad thing. And more often than not, if there are washer or dryer hookups available, the tenant supplies those appliances by default in our market. Most of our rentals don't have a washer and dryer included at all, but they do have the hookups. So going back to tenants supplying their own appliances, this could be good or bad depending on how you look at it. If the tenant moves in and causes a bunch of damage by banging their appliances into walls and scraping them across the floor, obviously that's a bad thing. They're creating a bunch of damage in your unit, and that's the reason that some landlords choose to install their own appliances, is so that they don't have those concerns when a tenant moves in and out. But if the refrigerator dies 3 months into the rental and you're not responsible for replacing it because the tenant owns it, that could obviously be very beneficial to you as the landlord. My main issue when it comes to appliances is that many landlords don't like to keep them in fully functional order. What I mean by that is if you're renting an apartment and the refrigerator has an ice maker in it, for instance, that ice maker needs to work. You either need to make the ice maker work or you need to remove the ice maker completely from the refrigerator or just replace the refrigerator. But leaving an appliance in a unit that doesn't have all of the components and features working is a bad idea in my opinion. I think that if you're not willing to maintain the appliances, it can be very telling about how you plan on maintaining the rest of the home, and I think that tenants or potential tenants are going to pick up on that fact very, very quickly. So if you plan on including appliances, my strong recommendation is to make sure that the appliances are clean inside and out, that they're fully functional, and that they're free of any rust or damages. On higher end units, there typically is an expectation for appliances to be included. At the most basic level, a stove and refrigerator would typically be what tenants are looking for in most instances. Depending on the price point of the unit, though, you may find that similar units are including other appliances in their amenity kits, such as dishwasher, over-the-range microwave, washer and dryer, things of that nature. So you definitely need to compare your unit to others to see what others are doing and see what you need to do in order to match and exceed the market expectations. Now, when talking about finish, it's generally a good idea to have your appliances match. You don't necessarily need to have everything Maytag or everything GE or whatever the case may be, but if you have a stainless fridge, you should work on having a stainless stove and a stainless dishwasher to help complete that look. Obviously, most appliance retailers sell combinations of appliances that all match. That's not always in your best interest, as you may be able to find a different appliance with better features or better quality or a better price through another brand. Matching the finish is typically going to be sufficient in these instances, but you're going to want to try to avoid situations where you have a refrigerator that's white, a stove that's black, and a stainless steel dishwasher. It just makes the entire kitchen look less appealing when someone's walking through the unit. So there you have it. There are a ton of ways that you can add value to your rental and increase the amount that you're going to get for rent, and we've barely scratched the surface. What is your favorite upgrade in your rental property, and what has it done to help increase the value of your rental? Drop us a comment down below and let us know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Andrew Schultz with RentPrep.com, and I'll talk to you soon.